April 6th, 1944, 2:30 hours. The English Channel is a black, restless stretch of water under a crescent moon. Waves slapping metal hulls, tossing landing craft like toys. You can almost feel the biting spray in the air. Hear the nervous murmurs of soldiers gripping rifles as the invasion fleet waits in tense silence. Somewhere amid this chaos, Hugh Iorys Hughes, an American engineer, paces aboard a transport, eyes scanning the horizon. He knows the men storming Normandy's beaches will die without the supply lines he streamed into existence. For months, Hughes had envisioned floating harbors, gigantic prefabricated ports, concrete caissons, and modular piers that could be towed across the channel, assembled like enormous jigsaw puzzles in the face of nature's fury. He had worked tirelessly, poring over tidal charts, wave projections, and the menacing shorelines of northern France. Each calculation was a gamble against the impossible. The channel was unpredictable. The Germans vigilant, and the Allies desperate for a lifeline once boots hit sand. The first caissons are launched in the darkness. Concrete giants groan as they settle into the rolling sea, tethered to each other, slowly forming the skeleton of what would become Mulberry Harbor off Omaha Beach. Soldiers and engineers watch with held breath as the channel tests every weld, every seam. One storm blows through in the night, waves towering over men's heads, tearing apart one of the harbors in spectacular fashion, yet the other holds. It sways, rocks, but endures. Hughes exhales. A small victory, but one that will determine thousands of lives. By dawn, the first waves of American troops approach the beach. The Mulberry piers, massive yet surprisingly agile, rise out of the water like mechanical leviathans. You can see the steel plates glinting as early light catches them. The soldiers still soaked from the channel crossing charge forward. It's not toward an uncertain shore, but toward a promise of supply and support. Trucks, artillery, medical units, and ammunition begin rolling directly from floating docks onto the sand. And the tide of men and materiel that Hughes imagined is no longer a concept tide, is reality. But even as the harbor proves its worth, the sea does not relent. Storms threaten to undo months of labor, waves pound concrete caissons, and engineers scramble to secure them. Yet each wave survived is a life preserved. Each section anchored is a gun or ration reaching the front lines. Hughes, standing amid the chaos, realizes that what seemed a technical marvel is now a human lifeline. The success of the invasion does not hinge solely on courage or firepower. It hinges on an engineer's vision. It's a floating solution to a landlocked problem, bridging the impossible gap between strategy and survival. The beaches are alive now. Soldiers push inland. Tanks rumble off the Mulberry piers, and the supply chain hums in mechanical precision. Hughes watches from afar, understanding that this concrete, steel, and ingenuity has turned the gamble of D-Day into a tactical breakthrough. The Axis cannot counter the sheer scale and innovation. Even their coastal batteries cannot prevent this lifeline from flourishing. And Hughes, who once worried that the channel would claim his dream before it could aid the troops, sees the impossible become history. By mid-morning, the channel is a tableau of relentless motion. Landing craft lumber back and forth like clockwork, carrying reinforcements, supplies, and wounded. The Mulberry Harbor, a network of floating piers and sunken caissons, hums with controlled chaos. You can almost hear the groan of steel under weight, the splash of waves against concrete, and the muted orders of officers coordinating the flow of men and machines. Every inch of this artificial port is a lifeline, every reinforced bolt a guardian against disaster. Hughes walks along a temporary walkway connecting to caissons, the wind whipping his coat around him. Storms had nearly destroyed the southern harbor the night before, but this northern installation endures. He studies the soldiers moving with precise rhythm, supplies arriving in uninterrupted sequence. He knows that without these harbors, the beaches would have become a bloody trap place, where valor alone would have failed. Here, ingenuity shields courage. Elsewhere, officers monitor the supply chain with binoculars and clipboards, noting the flow of tanks, artillery, and trucks. A Sherman rolls smoothly off a floating pier onto Omaha's sand. Its treads grinding against the soil, carrying men who had faced the channel's fury only hours earlier. Engineers scrambled to repair minor damages, patching joints, and shoring up edges against the tide. Each repair is a quiet battle against nature, ensuring the harbor's functionality endures. And then the reality of scale hits. Millions of tons of supplies, enough to sustain an army, flow over these artificial docks. It is a logistical miracle. Soldiers who had trained for months imagining a straightforward landing now rely on a lifeline that defies logic. The harbor doesn't just connect channel to beach, it connects survival to victory. Hughes, witnessing this, feels a mix of pride and solemnity. Every caisson that withstands a storm is a life saved. Every pier that holds steady is another step toward liberation. But the day is far from secure. German artillery and mortar fire sporadically inland, and reconnaissance planes circle overhead. The Mulberry must not fail. Storms loom on the horizon, a constant threat that could undo hours of labor in minutes. Soldiers and engineers alike work feverishly, understanding that each movement, each reinforcement, is critical. Hughes' floating harbors, once theoretical, are now the backbone of the largest amphibious invasion in history. And their survival means the difference between a foothold in France and catastrophic retreat. By evening, the tide has shifted in more ways than one. Supplies continue to pour in, and the troops push further inland, emboldened by the security the harbor provides. Hughes observes quietly, knowing that while courage and strategy are essential, it was human innovation, steel, and concrete that made this moment possible. The Mulberry stands not just as a feat of engineering, but as a testament to the audacity required to turn a perilous gamble into history. As D-Day moves into its second day, the channel churns with relentless energy, and yet the Mulberry Harbor endures like a monument to human ingenuity. Waves crash over concrete caissons, winds whip salty spray into the eyes of soldiers and engineers alike, but still the piers hold. You can almost feel the tension in every step as trucks laden with artillery and rations roll onto the beaches, the roar of engines mixing with the thunder of distant gunfire. Every arrival reinforces the fragile lifeline that Hugh Iorys Hughes had envisioned months before. Back on the beaches, chaos is palpable. Troops slog through sand and shrapnel, advancing under sporadic German fire. The Mulberry piers provide more than mere passage. They are shields, arteries of survival. Engineers soaked and exhausted patch gaps, hammering steel against the deafening roar of the surf. Each bolt secured, each caisson stabilized, transforms an impossible landing into a controlled advance. Soldiers glance at these floating structures with awe, realizing that their very survival and the success of the invasion depends on this floating ingenuity. Hughes walks along a narrow walkway connecting to sections of the harbor. The wind tears at his coat, spray lashes his face, but he remains focused. Storms had already claimed one harbor, but this northern installation, meticulously calculated and fiercely defended, remains operational. It is a triumph not just of engineering, but of foresight, courage, and determination. Hughes understands that this harbor is doing more than moving supplies. It is changing the course of the war. The sky above Normandy is streaked with the smoke of distant artillery and aircraft. German positions inland attempt to disrupt the landings, but the flow of materiel is relentless. Tanks, trucks, ammunition, and food roll steadily from pier to shore. Casualties are evacuated back across the Mulberry's floating lanes, medical teams racing against the tide. The harbor itself has become a battlefield. Every deck and caisson a strategic point, every repair a life-saving maneuver. By late afternoon, the scale of the operation is staggering. Millions of tons of equipment and supplies have crossed the channel through these artificial ports. Soldiers, once uncertain about their landing, now surge inland with growing confidence. By the third day, the Mulberry Harbor is no longer just a marvel of engineering. It is the lifeblood of the invasion. The sun rises over Omaha Beach, casting light on rows of trucks, artillery pieces, and soldiers moving with precise, almost mechanical efficiency. You can almost hear the hum of engines, the clatter of supplies, and the shouted orders of officers orchestrating this massive symphony of logistics. Every caisson, every floating pier, is a testament to Hughes' vision and the courage of those who built and defended it. Storms from the channel still threaten, but the northern harbor endures. Engineers race to reinforce vulnerable sections, hammering and welding in rhythm with the pounding surf. Soldiers rely on the piers not just for supplies, but for survival. Every crate of ammunition, every ration, every tank delivered to the beach is a step closer to victory. The Mulberry Harbor has transformed the once impossible task of sustaining a beachhead into a controlled, repeatable operation. Inland, the battle rages, and the scale of Hughes' achievement becomes clear. Omaha and Gold beaches are no longer isolated strips of sand under fire, they are hubs of momentum. Artillery reaches forward positions, reinforcements surge into gaps, and the wounded are evacuated efficiently. Without the harbor, the beach would have been a death trap. With it, soldiers move with confidence, their courage amplified by the assurance that supplies and support are continuously flowing. Hughes watches the operation unfold, understanding the magnitude of what has been accomplished. This was more than concrete, and steel it was human ingenuity, triumphing over chaos, imagination overcoming nature. The Mulberry Harbor is a bridge between plan and reality, a floating fortress that allows the Allies to project power onto hostile shores with unprecedented precision. Every wave that crashes and every storm that passes without destroying it is a silent victory. By evening, the beaches pulse with life and movement. The initial gamble of D-Day has transformed into a sustained offensive, and the Mulberry Harbor stands at its center, an unsung hero of the largest amphibious invasion in history. Hughes knows that while soldiers and generals will receive much of the praise, it is this engineering feat born of vision, calculation, that has made the liberation of Europe possible. In the roar of the waves, the hum of trucks, and the clamor of war, the silent triumph of Mulberry endures. As the first week of the Normandy invasion unfolds, the full impact of Hughes' Mulberry Harbor becomes undeniable. The channel continues to test the resilience of the floating piers, waves battering them relentlessly, yet they hold. Supplies surge ashore. Tanks, artillery, ammunition, and rations create a lifeline for soldiers pushing inland. The beachhead, once a precarious gamble under enemy fire, now throbs with controlled momentum. Officers coordinate reinforcements with precision, moving men and machines across the piers like clockwork. You can almost feel the tension in the air. Every movement matters. Every delay could cost lives. Engineers scramble constantly, repairing minor damages before they become critical failures. Each repair is a quiet act of heroism, an invisible battle fought against nature and time. Hughes observes this orchestration with a mixture of pride and gravity, knowing that the success of D-Day rests as much on these floating structures as on the courage of the troops. Storms rise in the channel, waves towering over the caissons, yet the harbor endures. The southern Mulberry may have been destroyed, but the northern harbor continues to function flawlessly. A steel and concrete lifeline that allows the Allies to maintain pressure on the German defenses. Infantry units advance farther inland. Artillery batteries take positions with steady supplies. And the wounded are evacuated efficiently, all made possible by Hughes' vision. Every soldier who reaches safety, every tank that joins the assault, is a testament to the harbor's ingenuity. As the days pass, the Mulberry Harbor becomes more than a technical triumph. It becomes a symbol of what human creativity and determination can achieve under extreme circumstances. Hughes' calculations, the engineer's labor, and the troops' trust in the structure combined to transform D-Day from a risky gamble into a sustainable campaign. The Axis forces, though fierce, are unable to halt this torrent of men and materiel flowing across the channel. The beaches are alive with coordinated movement, and the liberation of Europe has gained an unbreakable foothold. By the end of the first week, the Mulberry Harbor has cemented its place in history. Nature has been tamed, the enemy outmaneuvered, and millions of tons of supplies poured onto the beaches. Hughes, standing amidst the controlled chaos, understands that this floating harbor did more than deliver